Hello everyone, a new podcast today. We have our friend Luuk joining us. This is going to be amazing. And so I'm going to tell you a little story before we start. Luuk is an amazing person that I met a few days ago. I would say a few weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually met him through one of our guests, Reggie Heb, that was here 2 months ago, and he said, I met that guy once and I want to know more about him. I don't know, he's chill, he seems to be pretty smart. And then he said, hey, that guy is called Luuk, he work at GoDataDriven. I'm like, I'm gonna find him. Guess what? He's here.
Hello.
So welcome, Luuk.
Thank you for having me.
Look, during this podcast, we're trying to understand the journey of you as a recruiter, how you went from wherever you were to where you're at today, and the hurdles you had to go through. But I just want to thank you first, because since we met, a lot of stuff happened. Through you, I got to hire an amazing video producer. Now he's looking at her saying, yeah, that's me. Yeah, obviously it's the one shooting this place right now. Yeah, I just discovered a lot of stuff and I want to talk about them. So can you just tell us quickly who you are in a few words?
Sure, I'll try to keep it a bit short. So I'm Luuk, 28 years old, and currently the in-house recruiter for GoDataDriven. And but my actual background is in the music industry, so I had a very different background than you usually get with a lot of recruiters. And I quit about 3 years ago, and I was in the music industry for about I think 13 years. I started when I was 12.
13 years.
Yeah. So
that's
was
a whole career there.
Yeah, it's a large portion of my life where I was making music, also giving lots of lessons, providing educational video content. I was actually the first Dutch person on YouTube making video tutorials on how to produce music using FL Studio.
Nice.
Or Free Loops, what it was called back then.
Did you get to make money through that
yeah.
on YouTube?
Yeah. I was back then. It was difficult to become I think it was I'm not sure what they called it back then. A YouTube sponsor or something. But you really had to apply for it to get that whole advertisement module in there. Didn't make a ton of money from that, but the main advantage I got from that was that if you're into music production, you have your digital audio workstation, which is like the program you're actually using to produce music in. Yeah. It comes with a standard set of plugins that you can use to create your music with. Yeah. But the actual really proper, really good ones, they are third-party software, so you have to pay for them. So those guys, they want to sell their stuff, of course. So a lot of them, they gave it for free to me for me to use in my videos. So
that was nice.
So I didn't make a lot of money from that, but I did save a lot of money from it.
Great.
Yeah.
Nice. So and then I'm curious the transition from. I want to know more about the transition from the music industry. Yeah. As an audio engineer, because that's what you study, to becoming a recruiter. Yeah.
Okay, so that's maybe a bit of a heavy story as well. Yeah. So the thing that I liked most about when I was in the music industry was helping out other people, because the whole part of why I went, why I pursued actually a study as an audio engineer was that I would be able to provide better lessons. Oh, okay. Not to actually become a performing artist.
Wow.
So I really enjoyed helping other people out, and I was giving lots of lessons at the University of Utrecht, some schools in Belgium, England as well. And I really enjoyed that, but it wasn't really paying a lot of money.
Okay.
So then when I went to the Herman Brood Academy, I was actually classmates with your video content producer, but also Martin Garrix. And at that time, he was still at Spinnin Records. And, I helped him out a few times, and then some other artists from Spinnin Records as well, because, being the first Dutch person in the Netherlands producing video content about, making music, most of them knew me because they used my tutorials to teach themselves how to make music. So they helped me out. Then I got into Spinnin Records. And that's when things started to go downhill for me.
Okay.
because suddenly I had to perform live, and I really did not like it. It wasn't that I had stage fright, but it's just, imagine you are doing what's the easiest job you can think of right now?
I don't know, dancing.
Dancing.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
It's also a bit in the art side of things, but let's say just an easy thing you can let's say making coffee.
Making coffee, okay.
Now let's say you're making coffee and you're getting paid a lot of money to make coffee, and you have tons of people cheering you on and talking about how good you can make coffee.
Okay.
To me, it felt super awkward. It felt so weird because I did not feel like I was doing anything amazing.
Amazing, yeah.
So I didn't really know how to deal with that type of attention. So didn't feel I earned that. I was much more interested in the production side of things. But being part of Spinnin Records meant I had to do that a ton of times, and I just did not get any enjoyment out of it.
Okay.
The other part of it being that I was being forced to make music I did not like. So my whole creative process kind of got destroyed. And that went on a bit. And I was, I think, around 23 or 24 years old. And,
that's pretty young.
Yeah. And I was having panic attacks.
Wow.
Because I was just not enjoying anything anymore what I was doing. And so I said this is going to be a heavy story, right? So,
yeah, go ahead.
So things were getting darker and darker. I was having panic attacks because I was thinking, I'm 24 right now. Maybe I can keep this up in 5 more years, but then, as an artist, you have this expiry date because you're only going to be popular or interesting for a set amount of time, really. It's really rare to become an artist and just be an artist the rest of your life.
Indeed.
So I was thinking about that and thinking about the fact, well, if I'm going to quit in 5 years, then I'll be 29 and I still don't have a normal job experience at all. I don't have any degree. That's something people will find, attractive. Who's going to employ me? Who's going to employ me right now? And that gave me such fright about my future. And that gave me a lot of panic attacks. And I got into a depression. And I remember driving on a highway and having fantasies about just turning my steering wheel into a truck.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was quite...
to that extent?
Yeah.
Wow.
But the thought that came after was the thing that made me quit. And the thought that came after thinking about turning the steering wheel into a truck was who's going to be at my funeral. So that's a really hard-hitting question at that point, because at that point I was only working in my studio alone, really from Monday to Friday and then Saturday and Sunday performing live. I was awake when other people were sleeping. I had no clue who my friends were. And that just gave me such such even more fright and more panic sense that I quit right away.
Okay.
Called everybody up that I was quitting, and a week after I sold everything. So I burned all my bridges, so I couldn't return, forced myself to do something else.
Okay.
Started applying everywhere, got rejected everywhere, of course. And then at some point there was one company called helpstudent.nl. And they saw the entrepreneurship in me and, being responsible for myself and doing my own sales and all that kind of stuff. And that was that was relevant work experience for them. And I did not look at it like that myself.
Yeah, you weren't able to market it like that. But
yeah,
they saw it.
Yeah, I wasn't aware that was a good trait to have or good experience to have. So then I got into helpstudent.nl, which is my first recruitment experience where I had to recruit students to and also attract new clients for the students to work for.
Yeah.
It was mostly cleaning their house or helping with groceries. That was my first experience.
Wow.
Yeah.
That went downhill quickly there. Yeah. And I don't know if I can. Yeah, it's gonna be on record, but we have a similar story.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. I just mentioned dancing at some point. Because to me, that was the easiest thing to do at some point in my life when I was pretty young. I was between 10 and 14 years old. And at some point I thought I'm going to be a dancer all my life.
Yeah.
Because it was so easy. I was able to do any choreography you would think of. and then but I will go on stage at night when everyone was sleeping, and then by day I would be sleeping at school, and then start again the night after, and then I realized that I'm not gonna do anything. I mean, there's nothing. There is no way I'm gonna make something out of this thing. I knew it, especially for where I was, the country I came from. I come from. So then I learned. I discovered a computer, and then I was like, okay, this thing is interesting. And then I made the shift to own the computer, work really hard to really become better at computers. And I still dance today. You will probably be good at doing music and on the side.
Yeah, mediocre at best.
And I would say I'm not a good dancer anymore. But then you just switch to computer science. But what I mean by pretty similar, it's like I also went into that blackout moment, and you're like, who's gonna be there for you if you were gone? So get your thing together and then go back to work. That was basically it. Fantastic. And then you from there on you start growing into that industry, but you didn't start into the tech industry.
No.
So
I didn't even have LinkedIn at that time.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah.
So what is the process there from?
Yeah, okay. So I started out with helpstudent.nl, attracting new students and also new clients in a small region of Amsterdam. And that went really well. So they expanded my territory to also include Amersfoort and Leusden. That also went really well. So then they gave me the entire province of Utrecht.
Wow.
So it kept growing and growing. It went really well. But I was paid a really small amount. So like almost minimum wage or something. So my dad actually told me, you got to make LinkedIn. You got to make a profile, and then a different company will reach out to you with a better opportunity. Okay, sure, Dad. Right?
Sure that, yeah.
So I created my LinkedIn account and added some people and made a profile. And what do you know? 2 weeks later, I get 2 emails from the same company, which is Xebia from Manpower Group. And they were asking me to become a sourcing specialist for them. So that was interesting. And I went there, and then they put on the sorting hat, because I didn't get to decide which vertical I was going to be focusing on, because my father actually has also worked in recruitment but did the financials.
Okay.
So I thought, me and my dad are really, we're a copy of each other, really. We like the same things, so probably finance part of things will also suit me. Yeah. And I heard these horror stories about IT recruitment, so didn't want to do that. So I got with my first work day, I got my sorting hat on, and then it said IT.
Horror stories, but you gonna have to deal with them.
Yeah. So I started as an IT sourcing specialist for Xebia.
Okay.
And then I quickly figured out that all my other colleagues, they had either a university or a bachelor's degree, like a master's or a bachelor's degree. So I felt that I really had to perform really, really well and really push to give everything and not give people the excuse of, having that moment where they can say, I told you he couldn't do it because he doesn't have that degree, right? Yeah, so I worked super hard. And then I also discovered that having that background in the music industry helped out a lot, understanding a lot of the jargon from the IT world, because there's a lot of similarities if you're working in a production environment for music as to when you're just doing something for web development. So it was for me easy to understand. Okay, and
that's the little edge you had there versus people that didn't actually study anything technical per se. I'll probably come back to that later. How the being an audio engineer helps you being a better recruiter, a better tech recruiter. That is interesting. But yeah, go on.
Yeah. So I started there, and I did a really good job there. So I grew pretty quickly, and because I was used to being on my own and pushing myself to work really hard, I just started reading tons of stuff to be the best I could be, and I tried to experiment with new ways to handle recruitment. But I quickly I encountered these walls.
Yeah. Okay.
And I couldn't really move ahead or be allowed to be as creative as I wanted to be. And I'm still from the audio, like the music industry, so I'm still a creative, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't really just disappear when you quit. So then I was looking around for a new job, and that's when Xebia actually came on my path. And within Xebia, I actually got the chance to set up the recruitment for Binks, which is part of the Xebia Group, and GoDataDriven. And then Binks is the cloud engineering unit, and then GoDataDriven, which is what I'm now also a full-time employee of. They're doing data science and data engineering, so artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
And I had the amazing opportunity there to set up recruitment from scratch, which is something I really, really, really wanted to do for a very long time, a year maybe. Then for
indeed.
me it's a long time for my career. So that's really where I'm at right now. I've been there now for a year and a half, and things are going great. Okay. They really let me be a creative person I want to be, and test a lot of new stuff out and be experimental, and it works.
Nice. So let me put two questions in one. Okay, I'm gonna ask the two questions and then I'll let you go. But I think they're all we will be able to combine them in your answer. So you study audio engineering, and then when you went into IT, I want to know how studying audio engineering helped you there in terms of like terminology and stuff like that. But next to that, what is the first technical term when you were at Experis IT that you had to look up to, like to search for? What was the first technology? Was it like, oh, now you go out there and then find Java developer, or find what was that?
Okay, so when I was at Experis, they were doing IT, but they were trying to stay away as much as they could from developers, because they just couldn't find those people. So. Okay. They didn't even try it. So the first ones I've done were actually SAP specialists.
SAP, okay.
Yeah, and then also I actually lost the what they call them, the people who work in a data center, like a data center technician. That's just really what they were called, data center technician. Okay. We can make up a nice little title for them, but data center technician.
Okay.
I think it was for soft layer or something. So I had to
basically
look up.
IT support. Okay, it's more like data center technician. Is that
really working with the hardware in a data center and maintaining that.
Okay.
So those were the first things I've done. So looking up, then I think the first thing I had to look up is what is SAP, which is with this, and then it's an ERP system. Okay, what's ERP then? Yeah. It's an enterprise resource planning system or something like that. And then what's that then? Okay. And then you start making these analogies.
How many tabs do you have open?
Tons of them. But the cool thing about if you are like IT is such especially if you're looking at development stuff, if you're interested in Java or Python, whatever, there's always like this 14-year-old kid on YouTube who explains it.
Yeah. Okay.
So great. I kept finding those dudes, and I was like, that's me actually. So that's how I was when I was making the video tutorials for music production. Yeah. So I watched a ton of those, and that helped out.
Okay, and then the link with audio engineering in that.
It's easier to understand why if you're developing something, what phases it goes through, right? Okay. So you have a proof of concept and maybe minimal viable product, and then you go into production, and all the steps that are required for that is the same thing that we do when we're making music. You make your little proof of concept, and you start expanding on that. And if you want to go to production, you want to master it, and then there's all these different elements to it, and it's the same when you're talking about web development technologies. Also, if you're talking about frameworks, then for me the same thing as a framework. I'm working in so when you're programming music, you're programming it in .MIDI. That's the programming language that's universally accepted for music production. But then the framework would be Logic Pro X or Ableton Live or to me, those are the analogies that I use,
Yeah.
and why it was for me easy to understand
Great.
what we were talking about when talking to different people, candidates, and also the companies with different roles.
And then when you were at the Xperis, did you have like a courses or anything that explained?
No, none.
Okay, so you really had to. This is the field you go into, and then good luck. Learn how to swim, and
but they did create a course for people that joined after me. Like I think maybe 6 or 7 months after I joined.
Mm-hmm.
So then I tried it out, but then it was nothing new for me by then.
Okay, that's interesting. Most of our guests also they had this thing where they had to go and Wikipedia all these links, and then you end up having tons of links open. And then you don't know where you start anymore because it's
a rabbit hole, and it's just deeper and deeper, all the way to Wonderland.
Okay, so today you're working with AI data scientist. What is the most exciting about this for you? Like, let me put it differently. You've been doing that for a few years now, so you encounter different aspects of IT. Which one you think has been for you like, oh, that one I like it most, and why, if you have such a thing?
Well, when hiring data scientists for GoDataDriven, the interviews I have with candidates that I have right now for GoDataDriven, they have the most exciting stories, and it's of course, Forbes, I think in 2015 they declared data scientist as the most sexiest job in the world. Couple of years in a row, actually, I believe, and that's not without reason. You can just explain what data science is to just any regular Joe, and they'll think it's cool. So when I'm talking to data scientists who are applying with me, I get the most amazing stories about the previous experience. So, for example, one guy I've talked to, and we actually hired him, of course. He worked for NASA and worked on the James Webb Telescope.
Oh, wow.
How many times do you get to talk to somebody with that type of experience? It's just mind-blowing, the stuff that they are working on. And then the main thing that I'm very happy about working with GoDataDriven is that the average level of an employee there is so insanely high.
Yeah.
And I think of myself being a relatively bright fellow, but compared to them, I'm like a candlelight, right? And they are this huge burning blazing sun, and because I think 11 of 12 of them they have their PhDs as well, and their minds are just wired differently than mine.
Yeah.
And but the cool thing is that the culture that we have with GoDataDriven is not where you kind of gloat about being better than somebody else. It's an opportunity for you to help that person out and develop themselves as a person and become better as a professional, but also as a person. And that's what I've experienced so much in the past year and a half at GoDataDriven, that they are so willing to help me out and explain things to me and teach me new stuff. And yeah.
So if you were to work in IT today.
Oh, it definitely would be data science, yeah, sure.
Science.
But I wouldn't be able to, because the math they are doing, I just don't even know what it means. I try to read some pages of their thesis or something. It's just beyond me.
Okay, understood. It's always possible.
Yeah, maybe. If I get a reset button on my life, maybe.
That's also possible. I'm actually reading a book at the moment that talks about how you can reset your life, because whatever you did in the past somehow doesn't count. And I was like, tell me more. Tell me more about that. But yeah, I think they have a point saying, like, if you really want to do that, though there is no reset button, that doesn't exist, but there is a starting point and then finish line, and then you can do something in between. So I also met recruiters that learn how to code to be able to understand better what the candidate were about.
When I started with GoDataDriven, they gave me like a big stack of books I had to read, from O'Reilly, for example, designing data-intensive applications, and then also did a course on Python, did one on HTML5, PHP. I tried Java or JavaScript, one of the two. But then I opened like the first couple of like the first assignments. I was like, no, I'm done. I'm done.
Okay, interesting. So, do you have? So, as a recruiter, there are the competition is really high. Like it's a competitive market out there. What would be for you the things that set you apart?
So when everybody that starts at Xebia, besides the stack of books I got from GoDataDriven, you also get the stack of books from Xebia, which there's a couple of books in there that really explain the mindset that Xebia has and where we got our values from. And one of them is by Jack Welsh. It's called Winning. And if you read that book, do you know it?
Jack Welsh, Winning. I know the name, but
it's the CEO of General Electric for a very long time. And if you read the book, he's quite a hard ass. He's very much about rating his employees on the top 1 or 3%, I don't know, and then like your average employees, and then the people that you have to fire.
Yeah. Okay.
So that was a horrible part. But one really good part that I read about in his book was that he valued candidness above anything else, in everything. Honesty needed to be the most important thing in communicating on the work floor. And then I was thinking about that, about candidness, and I think that has become my defining factor in why I'm successful as a recruiter with GoDataDriven. Because I'm always candid with everybody that I meet, and I'm always myself. I don't dress up to go to work. I don't talk differently. I don't behave differently. I'm just me. And that's the way I communicate with everybody. And it generates this very open, informal conversation when you're applying with GoDataDriven. You have a first interview with me. It can get quite personal and like a friendly conversation like we're having right now. Yeah. And this is not really different than the conversation we had when I met you, because literally, so that's you really have the point there. And when Reggie told me about you, he actually doesn't know you. He met you just once, or I don't know, and then he had also that feeling like, it's weird. I have this weird thing that I feel like I have been knowing that guy for a long time. Like, when I met him as well, I felt like we were on the same page right away, and recommend me someone for a job, and quickly things were rolling. So cool. Yeah, so that's been, I think, my main thing. And then if you're working in the artificial intelligence field as a recruiter, it's kind of a horrible field to be in, because there's such a demand for people like that. And but then a few of them are and we only hire seniors, really, so that makes it even more difficult. But I've worked very closely with Walter, who's the marketeer for GoDataDriven, to create content that will sell the company. No, let's rephrase that. If I wanted to sell you something, it's very difficult to sell you something by trying to really sell it to you. You have to sell it to yourself. So that's the type of content we were creating, and what we really focused on during my first couple of months with GoDataDriven, making very candid content about the culture and what you're getting if you enter GoDataDriven, which will in turn let people who come across that content be interested in GoDataDriven and identify themselves with our company culture and values. Okay, but if I remember well, GoDataDriven came through like. You were probably one of the first 2-3 employees there No. It was it was a split. It was a group of thing, and then it has to split into something like that. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, Xebia, it's organized in this cell-structured organization, which means that once a cell is big enough, it wants to split. It has reached its what do you call it? I just lost the word for it, but it needs to split off because it needs critical mass. That's what the word is, right? Mass, then it naturally wants to split off. And in the past, companies have done this before, but then the method they used was split the cell off, move into a new region, and do the same thing. With Xebia, it's a bit different. we split off, but because people within a certain unit have great ideas because they are at the client and they know what the market is asking for and what the newest developments are. And when they have a great idea about something, just write 1.5 pages of your business idea, pitch it to the CEO, and then you'll get your chance and start your own cell, your own unit.
Yeah, okay.
And GoDataDriven is one of those units, one of 16 actually. And all of them have this own specialty niche focus and are driven by a mission of authority, which is to us that we want to be the best in the market. Not the biggest one, but the best and the most knowledgeable, really.
Yeah, okay.
And that's what GoDataDriven is part of. But when I joined, I think it was around 28 to 30 people. And right now we are crossing 52, something like that.
Okay, interesting. So you, in terms of still the same question, the same idea of what set you apart. Do you have tools, techniques, things that you use that make you being more productive?
In the beginning, so having a great inbound strategy is important, but also having a great outbound strategy. So reaching out to the right people and at the right time, and also with the right content if you reach out to them.
Yeah.
So for me, it's difficult, of course, to assess whether or not a person has the right exact background that we're looking for. So I've worked really closely with Niels Zeilenmaker, who's our CTO at GoDataDriven. And for GoDataDriven, for each role that we have, I am tracking about 1,000 people on LinkedIn. And whenever they make an update on LinkedIn, I will get a ping. And then I know that they are active on LinkedIn. It's something's going on.
Okay.
And then all those people I'm tracking, Niels has already given them a score. Either it's great, good, or ignore. Okay. So if I get a ping from somebody who's changed something about the LinkedIn, and it's an ignore, well, I'll ignore it. But if it's a good, I will send them a message. And if it's a great, I'll put in even more effort because I know that it's going to be a really senior person. But that allows me to send very few emails. But when I do, it's 100% reply. So that makes my work very effective.
So it's I like that because that's really working closely with the technical people, or you mentioned the CTO. That create that dynamic. Obviously, when a candidate on the other side are like, those people know what they're talking about, so I want to answer their messages.
Yeah, I think a fun example would be that one of the guys that one of my first hires at GoDataDriven, he set his status on LinkedIn to be open to new opportunities, and the time between him doing that and me giving him a call was 15 minutes.
15 minutes.
15 minutes.
Wow. Okay. That is.
That way, I'm sure I'm going to be the first one contacting him.
Yeah. Well, that's impressive.
Yeah.
But I don't think I think we're not using the same LinkedIn there.
It's part of the LinkedIn recruiter suite. So it's their special suite for recruiters, and you got a lot of tools in there to search for people. And I always tend to be effective, and it's kind of like if you're a bit lazy, you want to be effective because you don't want to do a ton of work. You want to be effective. Really, don't use carpet bombing. Precision.
Okay. Have you ever had to send tons of email not really at this role, but in other roles where you were basically...
in the past, because then when I was working with experts, you had these KPIs and you had to reach out to a set number of people and have interviews with a set number of people and introduce a set number of people each week. Which means that if you... And I learned early on, even back then, that that wasn't really my cup of tea. So I was making a lot of money for the company back then because I was doing a lot of placements, and so they didn't really make a fuss out of it that I was not meeting my KPIs because I was not meeting them in the slightest. Yeah. But I was making placements, and at that point in time, it was the most placements of that team. So there was nothing to complain about with them. But now with GoDataDriven or Xebia, I don't have any KPIs.
Like any at all? You're
none.
not using... Okay.
None. So I'm more... I'm more judged on the quality of the people that I introduce.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And of course, we do want to grow a certain amount of people in a year. So that's, of course, calculated in the budget for each year. But other than that, there's no KPIs or targets that I have to fulfill.
Yeah, like 10, 20 calls per day or these
No,
kind of things?
I almost never call.
Yeah, okay.
And it's very rare for me to call anyone.
Wow. That's completely different. I mean, that's totally different than what I've heard from recruiters. And yeah, it's obviously you're also in what people will call a niche.
Yeah.
Because it's not like you're looking for a Java developer and then you're like,
it's not volume work.
Yeah, volume work. You really have to be. It's like trying to hire a C-level person. You're like, no, I'm not gonna just.
Yeah, you can't just spam the entire C-level suites of the Netherlands.
Yeah.
You gotta be precise about the people that you're reaching out to.
Yeah, interesting. And do you have an amazing story about hiring someone a la Mission Impossible? Let's call it Mission Impossible 5 Luuk version.
Okay. So being candid in my interview process also means that my interviewing process adheres to my own values and how I would like to be treated during the interview process. Mm-hmm. And one of those things is that I had a bad experience in the past where a different company they gave me an offer and they set a expiry date on the offer, so I had to act quickly. So I accepted their offer because they kind of forced me to, and then a week before starting I actually had to call them up and tell them, well, I'm actually joining Xebia. So they were quite angry about that. So stuff like that, I don't like it, do it. So this particular guy I'm talking about right now, and we hired him, he was in our interview process, and I told him, like, look, we aren't in a hurry here. We are not looking for replacements, because one of the nice things about GoDataDriven is it's very rare for anyone to leave the company. Everybody stays there for a very long time. So I'm not looking for replacements. I'm not in a hurry, so we can take it just as slow as you want. Take your time, make a well thought out decision. And he was fine with that. And but I did tell him, if there's anything comes up and we need to speed things up, let me know and we'll work with that. So then we went through the first interview, which is with me. It was great. Went to a technical interview with 2 of our engineers. Great. He's really, really good. So at that point, we know we want to have him. But you still got to do an assessment with us, which is like this business case. You really got to put in a week worth of time to really complete it. Mm-hmm. And then there's one final interview with the CEO of Xebia. So he was about to do the assessment, which you have to take home. And then he sent me a text message. I got some bad news. A different company actually pushed me to accept an offer. Didn't like that. And then a different company also made an offer, and I'm actually going to accept it. So that was quite a bummer for me. But again, not wanting to push people into making a bad decision, I just told him, look, it's just the assessment. You're quitting with the finish line in sight. If you want to start with them with that company, go right ahead. I won't stop you. It's a good employer. It's a great culture there as well. Feel free to join them. But if you do our assessment right now, the offer I'm going to make you has no expiry date on it. So if you start with them and you pass your assessment as well, and you want to join us in 6 months' time, in a year's time, or longer, it's fine. Yeah, come join us then. So I managed to convince him to actually take the assessment. So he did the assessment, had a great interview again, and then also had him sit down with the CEO of Xebia. And then a week before he had to start with that other company, he sent me a text message, and it came in on my iWatch, and it said, "Hi Luuk, I have some bad news." And I was like, oh, didn't work, right? So then I opened it. I have some bad news for the other employer. That part brilliant. Fell out, left out.
Pretty short in the iWatch, but then you just scroll and then you see like, cool.
So he made a decision to join us instead.
Nice.
Because he had such a good vibe. Yeah. He really enjoyed every single interview, and he really appreciated us not pushing him into making a decision. So that was a really fun moment for me, where I went from a person canceling his interview to him actually taking back his contract from the other employer and starting with us instead.
Nice. I like that.
Yeah.
It's human connection.
Yeah.
you as a tech recruiter today, you're in this industry where it's obviously really competitive, and you came up with you learn so much and you apply these different techniques. What will be for you when you look at the landscape of the industry? What is the trend today that people follow to basically build a real successful recruitment career? What should they follow?
Oh, that's a good question.
To build a successful career in this field?
Well, right now the most demand is for IT recruiters.
Okay.
But to be a good IT recruiter is pretty difficult because there's just not as there's a lot of demand, but not a lot of people available. So it makes it very difficult, and it makes the candidates you're approaching very critical because they're being approached a ton of times. Mm-hmm. So if I were to give advice, it was to read Web Technologies for Non-Technical People.
Okay.
By Tommy Chong, I think that is. It's a small book, 60 pages, and it briefly explains pretty much every single technology in use right now. Yeah. And that gives you a nice foundation where you can actually have a normal functional conversation with the people you're talking to and understand what they are doing instead of just reading like these descriptions of Java and JavaScript and mixing them up and asking a programmer who is well versed in Scala to come do this PHP job because that's also on his LinkedIn. That already makes a huge difference. Okay,
so that is one. If you what else? What could you add on top of that? The skills people will need to do this job.
I think so. I'm talking from the point of view from an in-house recruiter. I don't like agency work as much. So you need a different set of skills for that. And I would say some marketing skills. So how different content, how you can use content to actually generate traffic, how to actually find the people who are reading your content, and also identifying a good tone of voice and what message you want to give by the content that you produce, because that's actually the thing that helped out us the most, making really good candid content. Yes, because I think a lot of companies they tend to make really good content, but it's too thought out, too methodical, too corporate-y.
Yeah. Okay.
Really, I think corporate. I want to avoid corporate. Really.
Nice one. Look, I have a few more questions for you. Do you, beside your work, what are the hobbies? What are the things that keeps you busy?
Okay, so confession, still being creative. I'm currently addicted to Minecraft. Okay. Gotta be honest. I just love it. It's really relaxing, and also skateboarding. And with skateboarding, it's super difficult. But the thing I really appreciate about the skateboarding community is the way they handle failure. Okay. Because everybody really normally when you're talking about your successes and showing how good you are, it's the end result you're showing, right? Yeah. It's the opposite with skateboarding community. If you look up really, really good skateboarders, like the really professional ones, or even amateur ones, and they'll show you this video of them landing this insane trick, but they don't show you the end result right away. They show you 50, 60 failed attempts. Okay. So you can see that struggle, and also the community is very appreciative of people trying to learn it. And you could be working on one single trick for a month and still not land it, and people at the skate parks will not laugh at you. And then when you finally land it, everybody will start cheering and give you high fives and giving you love. Nice. So just a small anecdote here. Someone fall from the skateboard. So we're both looking at the camera over there because the video producer is over there. So, I took his up with me, and he took quite a hard fall. Great. Yeah. But even then, like it was really cool for him to try it, and then he failed because he fell down. Nobody was laughing at him.
Nice.
Everybody is still, checking if he's all right and high-fiving him because he gave it a good shot. And then better luck next time.
Nice. Very good. And do you take some time, like a weekly routine, to grow your knowledge, read and things like that? Is it something that is part of your...
Yeah. So I'm lucky enough to have an unlimited book budget with GoDataDriven. So
Okay.
every couple of weeks I do order some new books on Recruitment.
Yeah.
So one I really appreciated, so one I mentioned before, it's called Work Rules by Laszlo Buck. He's the Chief Human Resource Officer, I think, for Google.
Okay.
And he explains a ton of stuff about Google and why they've done certain things, why their culture is the way it is.
Yeah.
Which has been very interesting to me because there's a lot of similarities with Xebia as well as with Google in terms of the culture.
Yeah.
And usually I try to read an hour a day.
Okay.
But I don't always achieve that, of course. But
are you more like books or audiobooks or paper?
No, I don't
book?
like audiobooks. I don't know actually because I never tried it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm more. I do both, but I feel like when I'm done with an audiobook, I just want to. If it was great, I feel like I just want to read it again. So yeah, all the books that I have right now, I have them as an audiobook at some point. But they're really...
I feel like if I'm reading an audiobook, I'll probably think about that it's going too slow.
You can speed it up.
Oh, you can?
Yeah, obviously. It's like it's audio. This one, have you read this one?
I haven't.
Yeah, this is... You might like the last chapter talking about human and the so it's obviously homo deus, meaning like human being becoming gods, but how will that happen? Data, connecting all the things that you look up on the computer, putting literally putting it in your body as a 7 sense or 6 sense. I don't know how many of them were there, and then you're like, you need an information, you don't look it up, it's just there, because we as human beings, we just become a next generation, a new generation of robot or whatever. But it's more about combining both, and it's frightening.
Yeah,
like literally.
Why is it frightening?
I was reading it and I was like, dude, you're talking about something that is already there. It's like just there's still that separation between us and the computing power. But if we were to merge that, like some companies are trying right now, we'll be almost there. Think about that. If you're when you think about something, your thought could be transformed into like a computing operation,
ones and zeros
and stuff like that, and then you can actually automatically gain the information and then process based on that. Why do you need a computer per se, or what?
Your brain is a computer then.
Yeah, you just get to a level where you're like, if we all have that power, but then we would just be at another. It's just another story now. We're just a different kind of human being. But yeah, if you're interested in that, yeah. But anyway,
so are you gifting me the book then?
You could have it. You could have it. Yeah.
Nice, because I already also have a book to gift you.
Okay, I take it.
Let me get it for you. Yeah.
Okay.
So mine is a bit more light reading material.
Okay.
So we had this marketeer at GoDataDriven called Camille Denning, and she had this idea to write a children's book about data science.
Nice.
How in the world are you going to explain data science to children? So she wrote like a poem, and it's about a little girl using data science to classify all the different dogs in the world.
Nice.
So I thought I will give that one because it's actually by us. It's from GoDataDriven. It's GoDoggyDriven actually.
That's a brilliant idea.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, we just exchange the books. So you have this. this is for him. This is mine. Look.
It's a bit more thick than yours.
Yeah, indeed. So there's something you mentioned before that you didn't like agency. So one of the questions I ask my guests is like in-house versus agency. So for you will be 100%
in-house. Yeah,
in-house.
With GoDataDriven, I'm quite proud of the fact that at this point in time we've paid 0 agency fees. Everything has gone through me, which is kind of my personal goal.
Yeah.
So the problem I usually have with agency recruiters is that they don't add value to the process. They just add more time to it.
Okay.
Especially because I can find the same people that they can find, really.
Yeah.
So last year we did have a couple of people being introduced by external companies, but they just try to like tweak the candidates beforehand or tweak their resumes where it's just not truthful anymore, and also with the salary expectation they make it as big as possible because they get a percentage of their salary. So I've already almost every experience has been bad with external recruiters.
Okay. That because a lot of people obviously working at the agency, they have those KPIs as you mentioned before, and
so you send lots of resumes that are just not relevant.
Yeah, indeed. You're working at GoDataDriven. That is probably one of my last question. This one is tricky. So my question is, if you weren't working there, is there a company in the world that you will be working for right now, you will want to work for? Like if they offer you a job right now, it's like, look, here it is. Would you take it, and which company is it? That's a tricky
It's a very tricky one. Because to be honest, I just cannot imagine working anywhere else right now.
Okay. That's a good one. That's a fair point, yeah.
Okay, so if I were to switch, then I think at this point a really interesting one for me would be Xebia. But it's kind of cheating because that's also part of the Xebia Group.
Xebia Group, okay.
Yes.
Yeah. But it's a new. They have a new one in Belgium. They create.
Oh yeah, they are expanding, right? Yeah. But I think they have a fantastic brand, but they aren't growing really quickly because that's not really one of their goals either.
Yeah.
But because they don't have a in-house recruiter there as well, it would be really cool to actually set it up for them and help them grow a bit quicker if they want to. But it's a bit cheating, maybe.
Yeah.
So I think another interesting one would be Google.
Yeah.
I think if Google were to offer me a position, then I would say goodbye. But really, only for a limited time. Then I would probably return back to GoDataDriven if they'd have me.
Yeah, nice. That's a fair point. So I think we have it. Is there anything you wanted to add regarding your experience, things that could help people listening to us?
Well, I'm always open to meeting really good recruiters.
Yeah.
So if you come by this podcast and add me on LinkedIn and want some help on your recruiting problems or issues that you're facing, I'd love to help out because, I like helping people out, really.
Okay, great. Do you have any talk or things like that coming up?
Yeah, I'm working with Eva Bolichova. I think you've met her as well from Level Up Ventures. He is hosting a meetup. I kind of forgot the name. I'm sorry, Eva.
Eva, look.
But I will be doing a talk about how to leverage an inbound recruitment strategy for your company. Okay,
very good. So yeah, we have it. Thanks again, Luuk. And I think learn a lot again from you. The more I get to know you, the more I'm like, do you want to work with me? But anyway, it's an amazing experience for me as a host and as a founder to always meet people that have this drive and that trying to do things really, really great. I was reading your the review on your LinkedIn. Obviously, LinkedIn is whatever it is, but people were basically saying what we just discussed, like being honest and being straightforward. So I really appreciate that from you. So thanks again for coming on the podcast.
Yeah.
And for whoever listening, Luuk is open for advice, and reach out to him. Thanks again. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks, man.